Hi everybody, it's 216 Papa Bravo here. Just want a little talk about a visit we made to Seattle this month. Great trip, had a good time, didn't rain on us too much up there, which they're famous for, of course. Started out on the first day, we visited the Boeing History of Flight, which is a great museum if you're into aviation at all. They have everything from the beginning of flight up through the Concorde and the SR-71 and everything that's been made. Really a great place to visit. You really need to spend, if you're going to go there, you have to just dedicate a day to it. If you enjoy aviation at all, the kind of things they have in there are just fantastic. Every type of World War II, World War I, Vietnam era, all the way through to the, like I say, the Concorde and the 747. You're actually able to step onto the original Air Force One and look at the way it was arranged. You're able to go to through the Concorde, which is an interesting airplane, very sleek, very dramatic in the way it's made, but it also is very small. If you're a large person like me, you are really not welcome in that airplane. It is not designed for large people. Really, the beautiful people get to enjoy that one, or got to enjoy that one. The next day we went to Pikes Marketplace, a really interesting feature of Seattle. It's been there since the late 1800s, early 1900s. Originally they had wagons that they would pull up and sell the produce from the farmers right there on the spot. A really amazing spot. So if you get a chance again to visit Seattle, go there and do that. They had vendors. It's known for their fishmongers or fish vendors, but throughout the building they've actually gone to much like a day-to-day flea mart. They have everything from fresh flowers to artwork to handicrafts to, I mean, you name it, it's there. And these the vendors really vie for the spots they have. A great place to visit. I will mention, however, if you're going to visit Seattle, plan on walking. The parking there is horrendous. It's expensive. It's mostly meant for the people who live there. They have passes and things to do their parking their cars in if they have to travel. In town, it's really congested. Once you get out of the basic city itself and around the outlying areas, it isn't too bad. But in the city itself, it's almost behooves you to walk around. It's not a really big place, not like LA all spread out or New York where you have to blocks are like miles long. But things are close. It's a really small, compact city, and it's okay to walk. Not a big deal. We went from Pikes Marketplace down to the Wharf area, which is just basically down a series of steps. There's about, I want to say, 3 or 4 blocks down, but it's all downhill, and they do have some walkways and things you can get to. There's a very large Ferris wheel, like the Eye of London type thing that's there, whether you're in a 7 or 8 person gondola. It wasn't very busy the day we were there, so we kind of enjoyed being by ourselves in the gondola. You get 2 trips around, and it's kind of slow, so you really get a picturesque view of the waterfront and the city, and really a nice little place to go. From there, we went to have lunch on the wharf there. They had a Red Robin there. They had a special, so we went to eat there. And while we're doing that, we signed up for an Argosy boat tour. They have these Argosy sightseeing boats that take you throughout Elliott Bay there, which is the bay that serves Seattle. And went on that after lunch, and really got a good tour guide. And he told us about all the things that either Seattle started with or became, or what things were and where they were at. A very interesting little trip, and got to see some of the old wharfs there that they reconverted into either housing or office space or what have you, and then around to where the now working harbor is where they bring freight into, which is really an interesting place. Then we took a break to relax and started walking around the area. We were down the old downtown, which is called the Pioneer Square District, and really old historic buildings that have been there for many, many years. It was mostly a manufacturing area at one time, which has been converted into either retail shops or or office space or those types of things. But the buildings have remained basically on the outside the same, so they're really interesting. They're famously preserved, and a great place to go visit. Found a little pub and diner there called J&M Diner, which is a local bar that's been there since the 1930s or something. Probably older than that, but as far as a current bar. But they have good prices on their pub adult beverages, and they had really good food. The first night we went there, we had some ribs that were just fantastic, and you wouldn't expect it out of a place like Seattle, but this particular chef had a really good menu, so really enjoyed that. Next day we decided to drive around a little bit and kind of visit the outskirts of the town of Seattle. Went to North Seattle, Ballard, up that way. Then another working harbor for Fisherman's Harbor, where the fishermen really congregate, and they have their skiffs and boats and stuff, and they go out in the bay there and basically do their fishing thing. So kind of interesting to see that. And then the Queen Area District, which is a highland area near the Space Needle, but it's kind of a highland area that they built on in the mid 1920s, I guess, and really became popular in those days as kind of a richer neighborhood, which they still have some very expensive housing there and stuff, but it's really interesting to see that. So lots of cool stuff there. The next day we spent basically the whole day at the Space Needle. We walked up to, we're way downtown, so we walked up to the terminal for the monorail. They have a monorail that goes from Midtown all the way out to the Space Needle, and there's a little park there. There used to be the fairgrounds for the World's Fair, and that's why they built the Space Needle, but interesting place. Anyway, so we get on the monorail, go out to the Space Needle. We go in and do look around their visitor center, and time comes around. We go up to the elevator, which is, I think it's 300 or 500 feet. I don't know. It's a long way up there, and kind of a glass elevator. You get to see the sights going up, and you go up to the observation deck, which is right above the restaurant. And the view there is fantastic. I mean, you can see the entire harbor. You get to walk around the whole thing. You see the harbor, the downtown, the eastern area where Renton is, and then the area north of that, which is the Queen Anne district, and then the harbor, northern part of the harbor. So it was great to visit that and see everything from that vantage point. Looking back at downtown, it's really a tight little town. I mean, Seattle itself is really a narrow, elongated city that really, is unlike most big cities, which is why they have the parking problem, but that's a whole nother issue. Anyway, went down and had lunch the next deck down, which is an interesting experience if you've never been there. The Space Needle has a restaurant on the second level. On the inside of the building, the restaurant actually rotates around every 47 minutes, makes a complete revolution. The building itself stays still, but you move on the inside. So it's a little interesting. And we stayed for 2 tours and had our lunch and took a lot of pictures and video and that kind of stuff, and went on to that. Then we went down below, got off the Space Needle, came down the elevator, and they have this park area down there. And right now they have a glass exhibit by Gil Hoyle. Well, I'm hoping I pronounced the name right. He is a world famous glass blower, and some of the stuff he has is just unbelievable. How he makes this and how he designs it, and again his thought processes, and they have it arranged in how he had his series of movements, so to speak. So he had a basket movement, they had a chandelier movement, and an ocean movement, and he had all. I mean, it kind of goes along with that. So you see some of that stuff. But it well worth the price of admission. Really, if you're into any kind of art at all, or you enjoy that kind of stuff, they have an indoor session, and you go out to the outdoor part where he has actually made the glass fit into the flora and fauna that they have around this little area. So really, really interesting to see the glass, and it has vibrant colors. They're very interesting, bowl shapes and all that kind of stuff. So it was a great visit. And then we rode the monorail back to town and got back to our digs and decided to rest and recoup that night. Found a little local market that does deli. We ate there. The next day we went and drove around again to a place called Alakai Point, which is across Elliott Harbor from, like, Seattle's on one side and this harbor goes around, on Alakai Point is over here. And it's in the scene, if you ever saw the movie Sleepless in Seattle, where Tom Hanks takes his son on a little boating outing. They go out in a little boat out there and putt around, and he goes back to a rocky shore. Well, that's Alakai Beach there. They call it a beach, but it's really rocks. But gorgeous area, really beautiful views, and the weather really cooperated that day. We had broken clouds, a little bit of sunshine, a little bit of clouds, and the fog was kind of over the city. It was really kind of pretty. Took lots of pictures there too. And that was kind of our trip. We really had a good time. The people there were fantastic. Visited a couple ale houses. One was Pikes Ale House it was up towards Pike Street, which is next to the Pikes Market Public Market. And we also visited the Pyramid Ale House, which is down by the ballparks, down by where the Seahawks play and the Mariners play. They're right across the street. There's an ale house, and it's a Pyramid Brewery. I don't know if you ever heard of it, but they make really good beer. They have an apricot ale that out of the keg is unbelievably good. It was a great place to visit. We had a good time. It was enjoyable. We really took care of a lot of touristy things while we were there. Most people don't do all the touristy things that amount of time, but we got quite a bit in and really enjoyed ourselves. It was a really good time. As always, good things, a trip comes to an end and you have to go back home and then kind of relive it through your pictures. And I'm glad I took a lot of pictures because, boy, I tell you what, the place was fantastic. We had a good time. And, I wanted to say thanks to the people of Seattle for making it a great visit. So, as always, you guys be safe out there. And this is 216 Papa Bravo signing out.